next choice. No, he's gonna stay on. He's gonna stay on warrior. Or
Right. And is it shaman from PinPingho?
yeah. Although the Shan X Rammus is interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like it's a card you mostly see in druids or sometimes in rogues. But then there is a lot of room for shaman decks, and that might be a mech
decks.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I think PinPingho really likes Power Mace. That was a card that he played when it first came out, the expansion, and he was really exploring being able to make mech decks, mid-rangey mech decks. And with Shan X Rammus, it makes me think that he's not playing the super aggressive mech shaman that has like lava burst, crackle, and 2 lightning bolts, like where it just tries to kill you with whirling Zap-O-Matic. But maybe I'm wrong, because I feel like Shan X Rammus is definitely more of like a mid-range, like play a little bit slower and try to control the board and just get some good repetitive damage in.
Yeah, also if you are able to play buffs, maybe he plays something like Bloodlust, or what are other buffs that Shaman can play? Well, even with Flame Tongue Totem.
That's a good point.
If you play like Flame Tongue Totem, let's say you have Shade on board, and the Shade is not going to die easily, then you play Flame Tongue and you get some value. But what you said exactly as well, just the Shade, getting the value from Shade growing and trading or going for face. So let's evaluate the hands a bit. For Reynad, what do you think about this start? He got some draws. I think it's good.
Yeah, it's good enough. Having a weapon is so huge against Shaman, personally. He might not have to use it here. It depends on if he evaluates Slam versus developing the Fiery War. Actually, he doesn't have to next turn, which I think is both powerful. If you get the weapon, you can answer normally what comes out of 3 and then drop the Acolyte as well. But the fact is he's also drawing, which is really big too. So I think Reynad's in a pretty decent spot here. That's why he can willingly give up cards like Inner Rage, because he's got 3 cards that draws and follows up on that.
Yeah, also it's good to keep the minion on board, because over time this Loot Hoarder is going to deal more damage than the Inner Rage that he used.
I wonder.
And even without Inner Rage, he has ways to enrage the Raging Worgen if we get to that point. But the overall point of the deck is to deal damage and then burst if possible, so just keeping the Loot Hoarder on board is good. For PinPingho though, he has that Power Mace he loves, but no max, and double Hex is also a bit weird.
Yeah, you know, he tossed away Harvest Golem in the very beginning, if you remember his mulligans. Why do you think you tossed away Harvest Golem? I feel like it's not one of the cards you absolutely want, just so that way you can have early semblance of board control. Or is there something else early that he wants? Maybe because he feels like Harvest Golem is too slow to defend himself against the onslaught of whatever this combo deck is.
Maybe he wanted to get that Power Mace. I'm just thinking, like, because normally if this kind of decks, like Mech Shaman or a mixture of a Mech Shaman, you do want to have those minions to set up a board and be able to trade, and then you win because you have totems, you have weapons, you have removal cards. So he probably tossed it away because he had a free drop already. But then Bloodlust.
Oh, it is a Bloodlust. So this is a cool variation where I know people were playing with Bloodlust for a while, like Hot Form was trying to experiment a lot with it. He even climbed to #1, I believe. Yeah, there's a place for it. It's really surprising. Although, here's an interesting thing, is that we just saw a Hex on a Loot Hoarder.
Yeah, that was a powerful Hex.
What?
This Loot Hoarder got a lot of value there. Dealt some damage. Baited out the Hex. Apparently, PinPingho really wanted to deny the draw as well. It's not really that he was scared of a 2-mana minion. Well, on the other hand, that Loot Hoarder was countering his minions here, and with Bloodlust in hand, PinPingho needs to set up a board. That's the key thing for Shaman overall, but it's even more important if you have that Bloodlust.
2 hexes in a row. I mean, it sort of is okay, right? Because what are the big minions does he really have outside of that Azure Drake? It feels like he's got weapons and he's got combo spells. So I think this is okay. I'm not exactly trying to evaluate. What do you think, Niv? He's really behind on the cards. Maybe Dr. Boom can pull around back.
I think it's actually okay. Because PinPingho is trying... First, he was behind on cards. Second, he has the Bloodlust. So with those hexes, he is able to curve into Boom He has the power mace that can buff one of the bombs here, of the boom bots. So he has a very powerful board. If there is no brawl, then he's going to win with just the bloodlust being casted. But even with the brawl, he still has minions. Like he has the spider. This is a very interesting game.
Yeah, I feel like it's really scary about the possibility that Dr. Boom survives the brawl. Because if he survives the brawl, then how do you actually deal with him?
Armor up. Well, you can attack into
Well, you can deal with him now, but you can't brawl at the same time. You can shield slam Dr. Boom and draw a card.
Yeah, but on the other hand, you are getting a good chance. And if you slam the spider, then what? It's like 6 minions. This is 1 in 6 that Dr. Boom is going to survive. That's a really low chance. I think you can actually take it. But look at the situation. Like, Reynad is behind again. Like, Reynad seems to be defending with this deck too much.
Yeah. Until he Alex draws his opponent and then threatens the combo. It'll be really interesting to see if that ends up being the case here. Wow, really good fortune here so far for Reynad, hitting the Acolyte for 1. Imagine if the Acolyte survives. Just absolutely destroying the board here.
And it's actually going to survive. Oh my
Are you serious?
What? And 1 damage as well from Boombot?
Yeah, 1 damage to the face from Boombot. That was the worst possible scenario.
That was
actually the worst. Well, yeah, for PinPingho, but normally we don't focus on the player getting really lucky here. It's the person that doesn't or never gets lucky. I can't believe that.
Wait, was Reynad always this lucky in tournaments?
I mean, he won't admit it, right? He'll still call himself the unluckiest player, or maybe he hasn't. Maybe he finally moved on and realized that even a stopped clock is right twice a day.
Yeah, it seems like karma definitely is returning to Reynad in this game. Right now he has all the tools. Like, he still has a lot of health. He has a powerful minion. He's going to deal with this Castle Mystic. And the PinPingho only having that Alakir and Bloodlust that does nothing on empty board. Well, he gets Pilot Shredder, that's something. But he's really on cards.
It'll be one of these things where Reynad's still salty because he's like, of course it happens to me when it's like a low pressure, not like a super intense environment. It's not like for a top 4 of a tournament, but more of like the preliminary group stages where it's definitely more fun oriented as opposed to like tournament defining for a big run of $10,000. So that's probably what's going through his mind right now. He's probably salty that it happened the way it did.
I think he looks a bit salty, actually.
He does. Or maybe he realizes, like, he's also one of those guys where it's like, if he wins without, outthinking and outplaying his opponent and just through sheer, like, luck, so to speak, he's a guy that also is not really satisfied. So there's that, too.
By the way, it seems like Reynad has lethal with this Alexstrasza because PinPingho can't deal with it. He just needs to play those taunts, but Reynad has the ways to deal with the taunts with minions.
Just have to... Let's see. You just have to get through with like shield slams and weapons and slams.
Oh, he gets Worgen.
Ooh.
Yeah, but even without Worgen, it was easy with shield slams, as you said, and just slam the totem and weapon up, enrage, like whatever.
I mean, there's a lot of ways to PM. You have so many cheap cards here. Enrage, Alexstrasza, rampage it, give it charge. You can do a lot. And, bottom line, Reynad wins with this deck. That's what it's supposed to do. Win 1 game. It's not supposed to sweep the series. It takes out the Shaman deck. Rampage. Cards that you might have not even existed in Hearthstone if you just started playing and been trying to copy decks like Mech Mage and, Fast Druid.
Well, that was definitely impressive play by Reynad and a very cool deck to watch. I'm a bit sad that we are not going to see more of this deck because right now it's locked and won a game. But we're going to see more of the Mech Shaman. Is it Mech? It seems like a mixture that the Shaman that PinPingho is playing with both mechs, power maces, and cards like Shade of Naxxramas and Bloodlust. And we've seen Alakir. Maybe he plays Neptune as well.
Hmm. Yeah, I would have to imagine that he likes playing Neptulon. That's a card that I've seen him toss in multiple times. So, well, we'll see if that ends up being the big influential factor here. One of the things about Neptulon is just that as Shaman, especially if you're playing cards like Zombie Chow, a lot of times the hand quality or even the draw quality off the top of your deck in late game scenarios can be pretty thin, considering that you have a lot of cheap spells as well. Wild Growth on turn 2. Reynad is on fire in terms of his draws and his RNG outcomes this series so far. Just to finish off on the point, though, without getting too long-winded and everyone, resident sleepering me. The fact is you have Earthshock, like Crackle, those cards are really cheap and easy to dump. And Neptulon is one of those cards that takes a lot of mana, sometimes up to 20 mana if it costs that much. So because you have such a good abundance of cards, it keeps your Steam going. And people don't really think about it too much because they underestimate the power of those little Murlocs.
Yeah, also the thing is that it replenishes your hand. So Shaman previously was using Mana Taint Totem to get some cards, and with Neptulon you do establish a big body on board, and you do get those small cards. We've seen some weird wins with Murlocs before as well. Well, Reynad gets the Tyson Jones for the Power Mace. It's also super powerful here.
Yeah, that's really nasty. Considering that now he can even protect Harrison Jones from the Flame Tongue Totem that potentially can come out, or even just Rock Biter directly. And taking out that Zombie Chow is so big because now Sludge Belcher and Harrison can rule the board in time for Ancient of Lore to be safe. And that way, you won't fall too far behind if a Hex tempo play comes out of your opponent.
Oh yeah, definitely. A very good position for Reynad. But overall, this matchup is kind of even. Right now, Reynad has an advantage, and this might prove deadly for PinPingho because if Druid keeps the tempo, keeps the advantage, he gets that damage in and then wins with the combo. But overall, it is kind of like an even match when it goes card for card. But here, Reynad was able to dominate the early turns.
Yeah, that Sludge Belcher again, really problematic. It's just that the stats are almost perfect for it. PinPingho can play Defender Vargas with this Annoyotron and put a pretty reasonable response. What do you think?
What about hexing? You can play Defender. I like the Defender, as you said, but
hexing could be good. It's just that I think this bolsters your board a little bit better, don't you think?
Yeah, but you're still going to lose this Pilot Shredder to the token.
It's true.
With Hex, you could Hex the Sludge Belcher and then play the Totem and save the cards. And then maybe next turn, coin Neptulon. There were some options, but I think Defender Vargas was the best play. I definitely agree there. Oh, wait.
Doomsayer.
How do you deal with this now?
Oh my.
Can you?
I mean,
the karma
is there really an incentive to deal with this? Not really. Reynad doesn't develop his board, but at the same time, Shaman does give up a few things. Like Reynad would have to uncomfortably deal with this Annoyotron. Who comes out ahead of here? I guess Shaman, because he can take initiative on the board.
Yeah. Yeah, because normally Reynad would, if this would be a 1-1 or like a 2-2, Reynad would be able to deal with board and then establish on something bigger on his side. But with the Doomsayer, the board is getting cleared, so Reynad is losing the initiative. And now it's turn for PinPingho to develop the first minion, and Reynad will be the one who is reactive.
That, by the way, is always why you want to sequence by killing the Pilot Shredder first, just on the off chance that the Doomsayer is driving today.
It really depends on the board. Like most of the time, I do agree, but sometimes it depends on your hand. Like if you have a lot of spells, you might want to play around Slowwalker Cho as well. I really love Pilot the Shredder as a card. It creates those complicated boards where you can't just go for it. You have to think what's the best or what's the worst outcome. We've seen cards like Mana Wraith destroy boards and situations for players, or even like Weblord being very annoying for others.
Yeah, for sure. Those cards are really problematic. But, it seems like Reynad being able to drop and fill out his mana curve on turn 8 is pretty decent response considering that his opponent doesn't have an easy way to seize it back with Lightning Storm and clear the board. Fire Elemental, pretty strong. Allows him to clear, but still costs him a minion as well. So it's not exactly the cleanest of exchanges.
But he is getting back. He is slowly getting back, and it seems that Reynad has such an advantage. But right now it's kind of even, with big cards like Neptulon and Scenarios in both players' hands. Hex will also be important. Maybe PinPingho is actually tempted to Hex here, and play Power Mace. Is that a good move?
There's no mechs in hand, but Power Mace allows him to contest anything that comes out. I feel like Fire Elemental does the same thing, but puts a 6/5 on the board. But you do give up your 4/3. Just like you said, though, the Scenarios is the one that should be getting hexed.
Oh, there is a big hunter for the upcoming Neptulon. That might be the game-changing card.
Yeah, that's huge. The fact that you can seize back not only the 4 mana that you gain directly from the cost of playing it, but also the 3 overload. And be able to squeeze in Ancient of Lore if you're playing Scenarios this turn. That's so big, honestly, if that becomes the case.
Do you agree that Big Game Hunter is the most powerful card in the game? Like recently I've seen this fan art where there is that Deathwing, Ragnaros, like Alexstrasza, you know, Dr. Boom, and then there's this small Big Game Hunter just smiling. It's like, yep, that's my loot.
I think someone compared what a Big Game Hunter would look like to Ragnaros in World of Warcraft, and it was one of the most hilarious pictures to scale that I've ever seen, because it's almost like an ant to a human, right? Like Big Game Hunter, but Big Game Hunter just comes down and shoots Ragnaros once and he dies. That's sort of what the Big Game Hunter does. I'm not sure if it's like the most powerful card in the game, but it definitely is one of the most deflating cards if you're trying to play big minions and have fun.
I have fun in my sights.
Yeah, so the saying goes. Hexing Scenarios is definitely the best way to deal with this. If Reynad draws Force of Nature or Savage Roar, though, right? Is that lethal? No, he'd be 1 damage off.
With 4, yeah. Well, actually, it's 1 off. Still, the game is really close here. So for Reynad is not threatened at all by this board. He still has 30 points of health. He knows that there is a blood. Does he know that the Bloodlust is there? He doesn't. The Bloodlust was never casted.
So. Yeah. Still, even his opponent has Bloodlust at 7, 9, 22. Ooh, Toshli. That's an interesting card.
I love Toshli. I love the fact that it made it back to the metagame. Well, actually, it's the first showing of Toshli. Some people played it in the beginning of GVG, but then it kind of got dropped. But now it's really back in Druids.
Yeah, that Shade is getting really scary too. It's getting to the point where it almost doesn't matter if you put up like a taunt totem, because Stack Shade will grow so much power in the next 2 turns that he just will always be threatening lethal. So PinPingho is working on a very limited clock, even though we know that Reynad doesn't have the full Savage Roar Force of Nature combination. He might as well be dead if he can't play around that, because he's always on to draw to lose.
What about playing Alakir this turn? And there's a couple of combinations. Like if you play Neptulon, you won't be able to play Alakir. If you play Alakir, you're kind of giving up Alakir for nothing. But you can deal 6 damage to face. You can kill the keeper. Yeah,
the problem really is that Alakir does nothing on the board other than kill off this Keeper of the Grove. Not to mention that it gets contested pretty easily.
Well, if you kill the Keeper with the weapon, you keep the shield. So then you force your opponent. Like, you basically protect yourself from the combo, and you do deal damage.
Ah, I see.
Besides that...
Yeah. It's about the same. Other than it's like slightly negligible because you don't take damage to the face. Whoa! Oh my goodness.
That's a nice top that Reynad.
Whatever you ate for breakfast, keep doing it.
Yeah, it seems that
how you woke up, how you put on your pants, how you did your hair, and what side of the bed you woke up on, keep doing that. Because if you're drawing like that, you can't be stopped. And
Yeah,
he doesn't
right now he doesn't
flinch.
even need the combo.
He's using up all of his monthly RNG, Nooch.
Well, really monthly RNG. We just started April, so it might be troublesome.
Oh, is this like Blizzard trolling because it's April 1st and it's like, haha, you might actually have good RNG.
Yeah, Blizzard artificially bumped Reynad's RNG to just make fun of him. Seriously,
Gosh.
that would be cruel. Well, still in great shape with the Shade, with Hunter. He is searching for that Savage Roar just in case, but he doesn't really need it here.
Yeah, he's PinPingho is overloaded, like you said. This Colette Oracle is such a big act of desperation, but Reynad looks like he's going to take this game with Druid. And I felt like Shaman had a really good chance to out-tempo Druid, but that Wild Growth start was so significant to having Reynad play out his curve the way it did. Because you could see that he needed his mana pretty much to pressure Shaman out of the game.
Yeah, even with a Doomsayer getting PinPingho a chance to get back into the game, Reynad was still able to continue on the early advantages to build up.
And I believe that should be game as long as he just swipes in Force of Natures. That's more than enough. Oh, well, surely now, but just for extra good measure, you're gonna be able to completely destroy PinPingho's board almost, and just go for the win here. So Reynad takes game number 3 and starts off excellently to this best of 5, putting PinPingho in elimination for the series. That is not from the tournament.
So now the question is, does PinPingho take Shaman again? You just lost 2 games with your Shaman, which is a play with Druid at least. Just not having the chance to play your third deck might be upsetting. So here for Reynad, he starts. Well, that's a good start with Zombie Chow. He can be aggressive here. With Paladin, we discussed it last week, but Paladin in this matchup can be both aggressive or defensive. Really depends on the playstyle and the cards you're playing. Some of the Paladin builds, they run Defender of Argus. They're a bit more aggressive. Some of the Paladin decks, they run like maybe double A on hands. And they're a bit more control-ish. Like all the Paladin decks are mid-range, but then they are like a bit more aggressive, a bit more control-ish, depending on or like 4 cards you can change.
Yeah, and being able to start off okay, he didn't get the mini bot, but he got almost what he exactly wanted. Zombie Chow is the best against Druid early on. Like, there's really no other point of having it, and it's enough to contest the board. In fact, getting both Zombie Chows here, pretty excellent. Just because you can test. Although, realistically, if you want to say it's not the best card he could be drawing the Shielded Mini-Bot, the Muster for Battle, but, if this is a way to sequence the cards, Reynad's in a good spot, because True Silver Champion makes these cards great. If he innervates out something significant like, the Ancient of Lore or, Druids of the Claw early on, like True Silver Champion plus these small little attack minions really helps him clear. Otherwise, True Silver is not effective against Druid. It's usually like 4, 5, 6 health, and it's really annoying to deal with.
Oh, yeah, certainly. Also, the fact that he's getting Zombie Chow early, right now, that he can use it to trade into minions, as you said, and not on turn 7 when he really needs something great to top deck, or turn 8 even. He gets a Shielded Mini-Bot, and what you said, the True Silver Champion is one of the best cards versus Druid as a Paladin, because you can trade with those Druids of the Claw and then bigger minions using your smaller board. Also, I like the fact how Reynad was able to develop the board early, like just play a couple of minions and try to maybe force a bad swipe, because this is not a board you want to swipe, like swiping Zombie Chows in a couple of 1/1s in the early game is not great. I think you're muted, Froden.
Sorry, I was like trying not to sneeze and stuff. The Sylvanas will also prove to be a pretty big problem in the next couple turns as well, assuming that Reynad doesn't control the size of the board here. But really, Druid's supposed to be trying to seize tempo as their way to get back onto the board. But just look at how much power and resilience it is. It's like this really is one of those like boards where you really wish that you put Poison Season Starfall in your deck because how else are you supposed to clear it as a druid without like 2 swipes?
Yeah, there's nothing the druid can do, and that's actually an amazing line of play that Reynad took here. The zombie chows can heal PinPingho, but Reynad is just going to continue playing minions and having an advantage. Dr. GG is getting dropped by PinPingho, a very good play. Whenever it's green, you have to play it. There is no way around it. So how does Reynad react to that? Okay,
Well,
that's a way.
that's pretty much the best way to deal with Doctor Doom, sort of big game hunter, I think, from the Paladin side. Just has to make sure the combat math makes sense. In fact, see if he plays the Elder Peacekeeper, he can't True Silver. So True Silver makes it a little bit more complicated, True Silver would make the board clear a lot easier.
Juggler is not doing much as well.
Yeah. See, how is he going to trade this down? He doesn't have Consecration either to make it simple.
Well, he can also just do it. Like Aldor, I think he has to play Aldor this turn, and then maybe just create a dude.
Yeah, sure.
Trade with the minions first.
Makes sense.
It's a bit annoying that he's going to heal his opponent right now, because PinPingho had 17. How much damage Reynad had, by the way? It's like 5 plus 5 is 10. He was 3 damage of lethal. Or was he?
Oh, he's trying to evaluate the boom bots first and then play Peacekeeper. I like that. If there's no easy way to necessarily pick apart the trades, like make sure to reduce your opponent's ability to do funky shenanigans, like get the Savage Roar off so those bots are clearing the board. And some pretty decent outcomes, hitting the 1/1 instead of the zombie chows, and forcing your opponents to still be on swipe in order to clear the board. Very problematic.
Yeah, but on the other hand, Dr. Boom now is an ultimate dude slayer. Can slay 7 dudes before he dies. Can also go
what if they become buffed by the Quartermaster though?
Oh man, that's why you want to slay them before they get buffed.
Yeah, I mean the druid is often the one trying to pressure. It's not like Paladin has to be the one pressing for lethal. So even though PinPingho was at 17 and effectively goes up to 27, I still think Reynad's in a pretty decent spot because he can control the board state pretty well.
If you look at the board, like really, Reynad has only 4 cards, and it's not that he's close to killing his opponents. But then PinPingho just played his tools, and it's not really that he can innervate something. He could innervate a Wrath possibly to kill the 3/3. But then what should Reynad do now? Do you just continue clearing minions?
Yeah, I think I really like that idea. I guess it debates what you use with the remaining 3 mana, and I think Shield and Minibot is definitely way better than the hero power, just so that way you're less vulnerable to swipe again. Your opponent has to deal with it and almost commit all of his mana. And now that PinPingho didn't innervate Wrath, it sort of cost him. The fact that he really wanted to save it, maybe generate tokens, or perhaps play Scenarios and swing a turn, has now allowed his Ancient of Lore and Dr. Boom to get wiped off the board for a scenario that he's still in a really awkward spot because whatever he develops gets challenged once again pretty easily. And Reynad still has a decent pair of cards. Knife Juggler is really deadly when you have Sylvanas also to back it up. So I think PinPingho's in a pretty awkward spot still, despite feeling like he had an opportunity to stabilize with Boom and Ancient of Lore.
Yeah, it's really hard to come back as a druid. He does have these scenarios that he can play, but he also kept this innervate, as you said, not using it for a Wrath. Maybe because he wants to play Violet Teacher and then innervate Druid of the Claw. But then it's a really passive play, and you have to think about equality. And the Juggler, as you mentioned, is very powerful. Also because there is Master for Battle somewhere in Reynad's deck. 2 copies of it, I believe. Unless he actually cut it, being a deck builder he is. I doubt it.
Wrathing for 1. Trying to reevaluate off the draw. Second Violet Teacher. I mean, you could put both of them out, but you really have to act quickly. All right, so he's going to innervate, put Scenarios out. very reasonable, but still, problem exists on, what happens if Druid just loses control of the board.
By the way, playing double Violet Teacher after casting Graph would be one of the most awkward plays I've seen.
Yeah, for sure.
It can happen though. People are getting stressed, and they have different plays in mind, and Raft is changing the hand quality after the draw.
Yeah.
Another
All right.
Black Knight top deck.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like an SA7 agent, but juggling on the Cenarius was perfect.
That was huge.
Wow, Reynad. Who are you and what'd you do with my boss? I don't even know who this guy is anymore.
Well,
Perfect
whoever
juggles,
this guy is, he's really good at Hearthstone.
winning the brawls and the Boombot RNG on the Acolyte, getting the Black Knight perfectly.
2 times. He's definitely very good at this game.
Did I die? I don't even know anymore, man.
Yeah, Frodan, you died and this is all a fantasy. You're just imagining things.
I'm looking out my windows for flying pigs. I don't see anything, but I wouldn't be surprised at this point.
Pigs to fly yet. Taunting Sylvanas, very nice. Whenever you are behind, it's good to play Sylvanas and there's board. And then PinPingho is not in that bad of a shape.
Oh man, Tyrion to come up in the next couple turns. If he had 10 mana, it would have been almost a date with destiny. It's like today is Reynad's day. But I don't really think it matters. Reynad has to make sure that this, nice, trades down so that way he doesn't die to the combo, right? So
yeah,
kills both of these minions off and just goes back to business. And he has Tyrion to follow it up.
And he has the Sylvanas as well, which is very annoying for Druids to deal with. Normally you do silence it, but it's not like Druid is going to have a weapon. He already used Wrath. Swipe will be alright, but then with the swipe you do take damage. PinPingho might be forced to use Force of Nature. But then still awkward.
Yeah. You give up effectively your ability to develop the board. You have a Violet Teacher afterwards.
Okay,
and then Tyrion will rue the day.
Yeah, PinPingho will need to top deck Keeper of the Grove to be able to counter that. But for now, he still has trouble here. Going for the draws. Well, it's not like Paladin is going to burst you. Even though Reynad has potentially 10 points of damage.
Yep, fair enough. His key might be to try and starve out his opponent. If he can control the state of the board, pick up that... I'm assuming he's playing something that go with the Violet Teacher, like Power of the Wild, but maybe he isn't. Do you have any insight on that, Nimsh?
Violet Teacher, Power of the Wild.
Are people still playing Power of the
no.
Wild? Okay.
Some people can, but it's not the thing. Like normally people don't play the card. There's too many good cards you can play instead.
Yeah, it's solely to replace the Pilot Shredders, right?
Yeah.
Just so that way you have another minion that kind of sticks on the board with the 1/1. It makes it a little bit difficult for the single damage targets to split across.
Well, for now, even though he's playing those Violet Teachers, he had to use all the spells before he was able to play them. That's why the fact that Tempo Storm Reynad was able to put so much tempo into the game.
Heyo.
Shout out.
Second Force of Nature.
No way to deal with this Tyrion.
You have to feel for PinPingho, man. I feel like he hasn't really made any sequence errors. It just feels like today is just not gonna be his day.
Yeah, but on the other hand, he's not going to get eliminated if he loses here. We might see more of PinPingho because our pro players will be matching against each other. All the 16 pro players will play against each other, and then in the end, we'll have the points, and this will define the seeding for the top 32 versus the amateur players.
Yeah, fair enough. What it does do, though, is it boosts Reynad's Goes to Gamer ranking points, which that's definitely the big money maker for him.
Oh yeah, and Reynad is in a streak right now, winning in both King Win and versus 6-0 last week on our NVIDIA tournament.
Yeah, it's definitely true here. You know, interestingly enough, I really like that attack from PinPingho. He says, you probably can't kill me, so I'm going to attack and make you trade so that way you don't die to combo. That's a pretty clever move there from PinPingho. I like it.
Yeah, that was very smart. And that's the thing that we mentioned, that Paladin doesn't normally have burst, and especially if the weapon is on board already. Reynad had to trade, and he is really low, actually. If PinPingho is able to stabilize, and by stabilize, I mean
swipe.
get that swipe.
Just needs to get that swipe.
Swipe will be huge. That's not a swipe. Well, that's not bad as well. He can
double Druid the Claw. Allows him to put up a wall, but it still dies on board. To whatever's there. I mean, 2 Druid the Claw gets contested.
Yeah. Well, double Druid of the Claw is going to... Well, that's actually pretty nice for PinPingho. Whoa, Consecration. Wait, that should be lethal then. Or not really.
Let's count.
No,
so if you... Okay, so he'll be a few points damage off lethal. Equality was lethal. There's only one in the decks, I think. So
the funny thing is that Reynad can't really kill those Druids of the Claw, and if he does, he is getting in range of combo. So he might actually play True Silver here. That's really weird, but that might be the play to keep himself. Wait, like even if he plays True Silver, he's still dropping to 14. So whatever Reynad does, is either Druid of the Claw survives or he gets down to 14, which is combo range. PinPingho still has a chance to win this game.
Yeah, you know, it's not over yet. It's because it's still a little awkward on both sides here.
That's the part of the Druid. Like, if you don't kill the Druid, if the game goes long enough, he has a chance. So PinPingho is that Savage Roar.
You know, I think Reynad's already assuming he does have it. And what a way to go if that's the case here. I mean, PinPingho still needs to draw it. 2 out of, what, 14?
He didn't get it.
No, he didn't even get a swipe. Does he even play swipes in his deck? He probably doesn't think so at this point. He's going to be walking over to Roger and be like, did you take swipe out of my deck? Because that's